Morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan Little. Hello, hello. I was told by my wife this morning that I'm a bit of a train wreck. And it's true. You want to know why it's true? It's because I was out all night winning this giant trophy. Last night, can I even get this in the frame? The trophy's so big. I took third place in the Streetwise Partners poker tournament. There we go. I invited one of my friends, Max Fried, and he took second place. And the charity poker crusher, John Sabat, won the event. John Sabat's trophy was actually taller than I am. To be fair, I'm not a tall guy, but it's tall. It was taller than me. It's an interesting trophy because they have ace. They have a royal flush of spades, then a diamond, ace of diamonds, then a king of diamonds, then a queen of diamonds, ace, king, queen of clubs, ace, king of hearts. Not so sure whoever designed this trophy plays poker. And then there's a cute little hand. Look at this. Isn't it cute? How cute is that? Anyway, I was going to put it like, I guess it will it fit right there? No. Right here? About right there. We'll put it right there for now. I don't think that's where it's going to live. If you want to follow along, I posted Instagram stories at JCardShark. So have fun with that. Today, we have a very, very special episode of A Little Coffee. I already spoiled it. We're going to be reviewing some hands that Louis Philippe played. Louis Philippe is someone who we backed. He's a poker coaching member, and he cashed. So good job, good work. I'm going to type in the chat box here, where you can go to get backing. I have other people waiting on the video about the World Poker Tour. Yeah, so we're trying to figure that out. Tell them to come over here. We're going to have to figure that out. But today, we're going to be reviewing Louis Philippe's hand histories. Forgive me if I'm a little bit slow. Look at these cute poker chips they gave us last night. These are chocolate. How cool is that? Mr. Vince Boss said, you just joined pokercoaching.com. It's better than you thought. Well, don't know why you would have low expectations. But check it out. YouTube is not up. YouTube is definitely up. You're just on the wrong video. Justin, if you're watching this, as you can see, mass confusion, yeah? Right? Can we shuffle these chips? We can. Look, we can shuffle the chips. All right. We'll give people time to trickle over here. Mail you one of these poker chips. I don't think that's going to happen. Derek, good morning. First time catching me live. It's early. It's so early. Mr. James came into my bedroom at 6:15 a.m. and said, Daddy, I'm ready to get up. Daddy, let's get up. Daddy, come play. So Daddy, who got home at like 2:30 a.m., Daddy, who probably had too much to drink, woke up at 6:15 and played with Mr. James. So that was fun. You're interested in backing, but you haven't finished all the study materials yet. Does that mean you probably won't get it? Not necessarily. Apply. You might as well apply. Give me a good reason to back you, and I'll throw you some money to go play. I'm happy to do that. All right, so today we're going to be reviewing hands from Louis Philippe's final table run. Speaking of this is a little bit off. Let's see if I can fix this real quick. Nope, can't fix it. Well, we'll figure that out in the future. All right, let me know what you think about this. We can either watch this like this, or we can watch it like this. I like this one better because it has the chat. So we're going to use this one for now. All right. So let's take a look. Here we have some hands from Louis Philippe. Pocket threes. Look, by the way, I've not reviewed any of these hands, so bear with me. If you're watching this on Instagram, you are missing out. You are definitely missing out. Go to youtube.com/pokercoaching to see all of these hands, but I'll do my best to talk you through them. All right, pocket threes, under the gun, 120 big blinds deep. Louis Philippe raises. I'm fine with raising pocket threes from under the gun. If you study perfect GTO charts, you should just fold, but we're not playing perfect GTO because our opponents don't play perfect GTO, right? So I think it's perfectly viable to raise these hands, and just make sure you play very well post-flop. All right. On YouTube, you can see the chat twice. Well, understand we're not doing this only on YouTube, right? So the question is, do you prefer this screen, or do you prefer this screen? Oops, that's not it. Or this screen. I really think this one's probably better in terms of video replay. If you're on Instagram, again, sorry, you're missing out. Go to youtube.com/pokercoaching. We're going to use this one for now. Because this is also going to Instagram, it's going to Twitter, it's going to Twitch, etc., etc., etc. If you're posting on YouTube only, or Twitch only, or Facebook only, you can't see anybody else's chat, right? All right. Hey, bro, how do we play a pair of aces? Well, right now, we're going to play a pair of threes. So we open up a pocket threes. Somebody calls. Flop comes queen 8-2. So, look, it's never really great when you raise and flop comes marginal like this, because you're kind of roped into bluffing. And the reason you're kind of roped into bluffing is because you have a whole lot more nut hands than your opponents, right? And in this scenario, you have aces, kings, queens, ace, king, pocket eights, right? Whereas your opponent may not have queens, they don't have aces, they don't have kings, they may not even have ace, queen, because they 3-bet those, right? So if they have if they're missing all those hands and you have them, you get to bluff a ton. Now, this is a pretty bad hand to bluff with because it has little to no equity when it gets called, but whatever, betting's fine. So we bet, opponent calls. Interesting turn, right? Because if you think about the opponent's flop calling range, it should be a whole lot of hands like a queen. Queen's not going to fold on the turn. Should be a whole lot of hands like Jack 10, 10 9, or Jack 9, which are not going to fold on the turn. That's about it. Flush draws. Flush draws are not going to fold on the turn. So, now, in this scenario, we have two options. We can either bet turn and then bet river, or we can check and then fold. I would lean towards check and then fold. I think this 10 just nails your opponent's range. Your opponent has stuff like maybe queen 10 suited, maybe pocket 10s, maybe jack 9, right? So this is a scenario where a lot of people make the mistake of betting one time. By the way, I've not watched his hand, so I don't know what Louis Philippe's about to do. But this is a scenario where people mess up and either bet one time on the turn. Well, I guess it's 2 times because he bet the flop, right? They're either going to bet the turn and then check the river, which I think is awful. Or, like I told you all, I'm a little bit hungover. In this scenario, either bet turn and bet river, or check and then fold. Either play is fine. When the board comes queen, 8, 2, 10, do not bet just the turn because you're going to get called on the turn almost every time. Again, if you're watching this on Instagram, go to youtube.com/pokercoaching and you will find this. Also, if you want to get backed by me to go play poker, if you want to apply for that, go to pages.pokercoaching.com. I'll type the URL right there. If you're a poker coaching member, you are really live to get it. If you're asking me a bunch of random questions, sorry. Ryan says this is much better than Instagram. Yeah, I know it is because I can't show the screen on Instagram. You know what I could do for Instagram? Here's what we can actually do, Instagram followers. Let's turn this around like this. This is marginal. This is marginal. We're trying to make Instagram work, everyone. Bear with me for 1 second. Can we get this on the screen? Is that even a possibility? Well, maybe this will work. All right, this will actually work. Okay, fine. Here we have. Can I explain a bunch of random stuff? No. Right now we're going through Louis Philippe's hands. We'll have an Ask Me Anything in a few episodes. All right, anyway, pocket threes, either bet turn and bet river or check and then fold. All right, Louis Philippe goes for the bet. If you're betting turn, you sure better bet the river, Louis Philippe. He gets called. River 7, got a triple barrel. Louis Philippe triple barrels. Good, good, good. Good job, Louis Philippe. If you're going to bet the turn, you got to bet the river. You bet the river. Let's see if I can make this function properly. Okay. You bet the river. And, win or lose, I think it's a fine scenario. Realize in this spot, you're essentially trying to get a queen to fold. I probably would have gone bigger on the river, actually. So in this scenario, I probably would have gone more like 24, 25 big blinds. But that's fine. You say YouTube's not working at the moment. Go to youtube.com/pokercoaching. It should definitely work. All right. I like that. So triple barrel regardless of the river. King, 9, hit, flush draw still there, etc., etc. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of hands that could get there. Like, say the opponent does have a flush draw. He's going to call when the flush comes, at fold when it doesn't. But if he has, like, queen, jack, he's definitely going to fold if a flush card comes, right? So sometimes he gets there, sometimes he doesn't, but it's still a scenario where you probably want to be betting. Is this working for Instagram? I can't read anyone on Instagram's questions, just so you know. Anyway, if you're on Instagram, youtube.com/pokercoaching. Also, if you enjoy this, click like, click subscribe. That'll be very, very beneficial for me. And Louis Philippe gets it through. Nice. All right, next hand. Ace-5 offsuit. Small blind raises, you call. Easy call here, 100 big blinds deep. Opponent bets flop, you call. Turns to 7 of clubs. Opponent checks. So you can go either way here. You can either check or bet, depending on your read of the opponent. Louis Philippe did play this event online. You could play day 1 of the WPT 500 that's what this is, WPT 500 that he cashed. He could play it online, so he did. And that means you're probably not going to have great reads on your opponents. That's fine. This is a situation where, I'd probably just check. You know which cards are bad for you, right? Like a king is bad, a jack is bad, and a club is bad. Everything else is fine. So in that scenario where a king is bad, a jack is bad, and a club is bad, and everything else is fine, you're just going to play really, really, really well on the river, and you induce bluffs. So in exchange for a little bit of protection, I'm just happy to check. Also, if you bet the turn and get raised, it's awful. Your opponent may just randomly check raise with king of clubs, 10 or something, which would be a disaster. So I like to check. Louis Philippe goes for small bet. Well, actually, yeah, small bet, which if you're going to bet, you usually want to do bet on the medium to small side, but I would have just checked, I think. River's 9, opponent checks. I'd probably just check here again. You lose to a lot of hands. And, well, as you see, right, opponent had the 2 pair. And this is a scenario where I would have check, turn, and then call a river bet. And, to be fair, maybe you lose more, but this is fine. You need to turn the camera around and put a mirror in front of it because Instagram is backwards. Ooh, Instagram is backwards. Brutal. Instagram users, you're just going to look at my pretty face. Sorry. Hello, Instagram. If Instagram's backwards, that is clearly useless. If you're watching on Instagram, stop that immediately. Go to youtube.com/pokercoaching and watch this live because we're reviewing the hands. Apparently, the YouTube hands were backwards. Thank you for letting me know. I don't know that. All right. You all can just look at me instead. All right, ace-10 offsuit. 100 big blinds deep. We raise it up from the cutoff. Button calls. Big blind calls. Flop comes. King 6-4, 2 diamonds. I'm sorry, 3 diamonds. So we have the nut flush draw. Whenever you have the nut flush draw, but there's 3 of them on the board, so let's say it is king 6-4, 3 diamonds. You have the ace of diamonds. It's not nearly as good as if you have 2 diamonds in your hand and 2 diamonds on the board, because then your hand's way more disguised. Here, everybody just knows if you have a flush, if a 4th diamond comes, right? It's just obvious. So it's a fine draw. You're not unhappy about this, but it's certainly not an amazing scenario. So anyway, opponent checks. I think betting's fine. You can get a lot of worse hands to fold. So I think this is nice. Louis Philippe does bet and gets raised. Something's going on with the pot size here. Don't know what. I would call. Try to get there. You're getting great odds. Opponent jams turn for how many big blinds? 29 big blinds into a... What's happening with this pot? Whoever entered this didn't do it right. I can't tell me. There's 45 big blinds in the pot. Opponent's jamming 29. So now you just fold. You do beat some draws, but that's fine. Louis Philippe said with the ace-5, you decided to buy a showdown. The idea of buying a showdown is essentially... I'm going to bet small on the turn so I don't face a river bet. And I don't really like that logic because you don't really want to buy a showdown when you have what is likely the best hand and you induce bluffs. So by checking there, you induce bluffs with your top pair, and then you get your opponents to put money in poorly. Strange watching in big blinds. Well, believe it or not, online, you can actually just input the number of big blinds you have. Or you can click a button and it will change your stack to the number of big blinds, which is way easier. It's also way more convenient. It's not great practice for live poker, but it is what it is. All right. Lexi Gavin, good morning. Don't forget to tell the poker coaching members that they have a webinar today by Lexi on continuation bet strategy. There you go. If you're a poker coaching member, today we're having a webinar with Lexi Gavin on continuation betting strategy. Lexi, if you have any questions or anything like that, let me know. I'm happy to help. I'm excited for it. Thanks for doing it for all the poker coaching members. If you're not a poker coaching member, by the way, go to pokercoaching.com. You can get a completely free trial membership and go for it. All right. Here we have ace, 8 of hearts, facing under the gun raise. I'm fine calling. You could 3-bet if you wanted against under the gun raise, but on the button, 50 big blinds deep. I'm just going to flat, see what develops. And you may say, why flat in these scenarios? Isn't that too loose? Mike Matisow actually asked me just the other day on Twitter, why do you call in these scenarios? It's because you have great implied odds and your opponents don't play perfectly, right? And I think a lot of people, again, they get stuck in their heads, am I behind at the moment? Or what's the GTO play? But we're not playing against GTO robots. We're playing against players who are usually going to make some sort of errors one way or the other. And when they're making some sort of errors one way or the other, you want to play pots with them. So I don't mind flatting here. All right, we flat. Big blind calls. Jack, 9, 6, 2 hearts. They check to you. You have the ace, 8 of hearts. Think about this. Think about how this connects with the opponent's ranges. Well, Jack, 9, 6 should just nail the big blind. And it should also be okay for the under the gun player. So in this scenario, yes, you have fold equity. Yes, you have plenty of equity, but I don't think you're actually going to get all that many folds. And if you check, you never get raised, which is very, very nice here. So in this scenario, I think I'm probably just happy checking. And Louis Philippe does check. You say you played it differently than what you used to or usually do because you structure your ranges ahead of time, like the poker coaching homework suggests. Good. Michael, send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. Justin, if you're watching this, Justin helps me with all these things. Figure out what's going on with Lexi's webinar. Presumably that's today. I can see you're sending me messages, but, well, let's actually bring it up real quick. All right, let's see. Lexi's webinar is not live today. Okay. The class is going up today, so it's not a webinar. It is a class. All right, fine. Lexi's class is going live today on the site, so it's pre-recorded class. That way, make sure there's no little errors and all that. Also, believe it or not, doing this stuff live is hard. So yeah, Lexi's webinar is pre-recorded and we released for everyone today. Good. Poker coaching members, look forward to that. Doing stuff live is difficult. Some of you give me crap for doing stuff live. You say, oh, this is not planned very well. No, it's not. I rolled out of bed and started making this recording for all of you. So you're welcome. All right. We have a flush draw on the flop. I like check. Turns to a diamonds. You face a pot size bet. Or small, less than pot size bet, I would flat. Wherever you make the flush, good. You face a bet, easy all in. And now your opponent folds for a min raise. Yeah, good. Nice hand. Justin, who entered these hands, says he doesn't know what's going on here. Good. Do you think over the next 10 years, more states will have legal online poker? Sure. I think over time, for the most part, things that are not actually all that detrimental to humans get that are currently banned, those things get legal, essentially. Anything that's not awful for humans tends to make itself legal if it's not illegal for some reason. And online poker's like that. As Kevin Smith says, smash the like button. It's free for you, and it helps me. Anytime you can do something for free that helps other people that you appreciate, do that. What's Lexi's class about? Continuation betting strategies, so check it out. That said, do I think there'll be legal nationwide poker within America? I made a video recently about my predictions about poker, and one of them was essentially about that. And my suggestion is I don't think it's going to be legal within 20 years within America, because America's slow. Nationwide, right? Nationwide is very different than statewide. Statewide. All right. Anyway, here we go. 2.2 big blind raise up from under the gun. Button calls. We're in the big blind with pocket twos. If you're watching this on Instagram, go to youtube.com/pokercoaching to see the hands. Easy flat. Flop comes 7-3-3. Check. Check. Turns jack of clubs. Just check. I would not bet here, Louis Philippe. There's no reason to bet here. When you bet, you're going to get called by all club draws, which you're ahead of, but you're going to have a tough time playing against on the river. And then also, you just have like no equity, right? So when you have no equity when you get called or little equity when you get called, I typically just check fold here. I would not put money in the pot. And also, it's really easy for either under the gun or the button to have a jack. Because think about the hands they would typically check and then plan to give up with on the flop. It's going to be stuff like king jack, queen jack, jack 10, jack 9, right? All these hands would likely just give up. And now they got top pair. So now they're not going to give up. So I would just not put a chip in the pot here. You bet. Same story. If you bet the turn, you need to bet the river. Actually, is that true? It's not true here. The reason it's not true here is because you can be against the flush draw, right? So I actually think you probably don't need to bet the river unless you're going to bet really big. So pot's 14 big blinds, opponent has 24. I would either go all in or I would check. I don't like any other bet size here. I hate the 5 big blind bet size. If you go really tiny, like 2 big blinds, maybe you can get called by ace high. But like right here, no one's going to fold a pair. So are they going to call with ace high for 5 big blinds? I don't think so. So I don't like this bet size Louis Philippe. I would have gone smaller. By the way, today we are reviewing Louis Philippe's hands from the WPT 500 that Poker Coaching backed him in. If you want to get backing, I will post the link right here in the chat box. pages.pokercoaching.com/backing. All right. You think betting the flop would be better than betting the turn? I completely disagree. I would never lead here with this hand. You want to be leading when the board connects very well with your range, which a 3 doesn't actually connect all that well with your range. Usually a 3 more so connects with, what is this thing over here? What am I looking at? Oh, that's the camera. There we go. A 3 connects with no one's range because you're not calling like 9-3 offsuit, right? So this is not a board where you want to be leading all that often. It's a little bit different if it becomes like 7-6-6 because then you have a lot of good draws that have equity, and then you also have a lot of sixes. Because you do call with like king 6, queen 6, jack 6, 10-6, especially suited. You also call with every hand connected to the 6. So that's a scenario where it's probably fine. All right. So I would never ever lead. Leading is often quite bad. All right. And then on the river, you bet 5 big blinds. I don't like this play at all. You get called by the jack, obviously. Notice here, if you jam river, you're still probably getting called. But in this scenario, if your opponent had jack 10 or queen jack, right, I think you're going to get a lot of folds. So I really don't like the river bet. I would have checked, and maybe check call, to be fair. When you check the river, when all the draws miss, you should be somewhat inclined to call off on the river because a lot of draws miss. But I would still just, I wouldn't put a chip in the pot in this hand. You know, one thing you will find is that a lot of the players who make deep runs on a regular basis, like I know Louis Philippe does, he is in there battling, right? And when people are in there battling, you will inevitably find yourself in tough spots. And when you find yourself in tough spots, you'll make mistakes because you're in tough spots, right? And as you get more experience, you will learn to play better and better and better. I see some of you asking me completely tangential questions to what we're discussing today. By the way, if you're watching this on Instagram, again, youtube.com/pokercoaching to see the hands that we are discussing. This is not an Ask Me Anything today. That'll be later. You're one of the best players that I can back, says Tom. Well, prove it. Nice thing about backing players, you can see their results, right? If you can see their results, then you know who's good to back. For example, I know Louis Philippe plays a ton, and he has good results. Seems like a good player to back. And then he shows up, plays the tournament, and cashes it. Go figure, right? Should you start playing online or live? Depends on if you want to make money or not. If you want to make money immediately, you should probably play live. If you want to make money long term, you should play online. Online will teach you to play well. Online will teach you to play well. Live will teach you to beat really bad players, which is not necessarily how you make the most money long term. All right. Anyway, I would not have put a chip in the pot in this hand. If I did bet the river, though, I would have gone all in to try to get a jack to fold. Now, if you think a jack's ever folding, then just check fold, clearly. Because right there, you don't need to bet the river small, because if you bet the river small, then no pair is going to fold, and you lose all the pairs. So pair's not going to fold. Ace high is going to fold, which is why I said maybe like 2 big blinds is okay, because then ace high calls sometimes. But even then, sometimes it raises, which is also not what you want. All right, cutoff raises 2.2 big blinds out of 78. Small blind calls off 35. You call big blind. Flop comes, you have pocket 7 of hearts. Flop comes jack 6 4 2 1 3 hearts. All right, you check flop. I'm sorry, small blind checks flop. You decide to bet. Oh my God, you're under the gun. I'm sorry, everyone. Like I said, We're having a rough day today because we're hungover. We won the trophy last night, as you see it back here. If you're listening to this podcast, actually, we probably don't even need to put this out on audio because this is a mess. If we do put this out on audio, if you are listening to this, go back and watch it. YouTube.com/pokercoaching. Obviously, someone's saying will the video on demand be available? Yes, it's always available on poker coaching. YouTube.com/pokercoaching. All the little poker advices are housed there. Little poker advices, weekly poker hands, a little coffee. That's what this thing's called. So all that's there. All right, you raise under the gun. Button calls, small blind calls. Gotcha. All right, flop comes Jack 6-4, small blind checks. Betting's fine. I don't think you need to bet too big. You blast it though. So this is a rather odd scenario where normally when there's 3 hearts on the board or 3 of a suit on the board, you have to be a little bit careful when it comes to betting on boards like this. But a Jack, a 6, and a 4 are all kind of uncoordinated. So I'm okay betting frequently here. I would bet frequently and small. You bet big though. Fine. Everybody folds. Here's an exploit on monotone boards that you do all the time, says Louis Philippe. You like to bet big, and it works almost always. It's from the Assassinato webinar where he check raises them large. Well, you're not check raising, you're betting. But yeah, sure. I mean, if you tell me this is an exploit that works against your opponents, they're going to fold out literally everything or close to everything, then sure. Geez, how much Cabernet was flowing? A lot of Cabernet was flowing. Where do you find these hands we're discussing? YouTube.com/pokercoaching. Last night, I won this trophy. Got 3rd place. This is 3rd place trophy. Imagine what 1st place looks like. It was as tall as my bookshelf. John Sabat has that somewhere. And when Cabernet flows, we win poker tournaments. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's way too big. Maybe it's going to get housed right up there. All right. Sean asked Louis Philippe a question. Do you like big bets here without the hearts? It's a good question, because right here, the heart's essentially an irrelevant blocker, right? Like, you're not so concerned with the 8-7 and the 9-7 and the 7-6 suited blocks. So yeah, I don't know. What do you do there, Louis Philippe? Let us know. All right, A6 of hearts. You raise it up from the cutoff off 35 big blinds effective. Button calls. Flop comes 8, 5, 2, 1 heart. So we have backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. It's fine to bet here. This is a scenario also where the low card boards don't actually connect well with the button's calling range for the most part, because the button's calling range should be a whole lot of hands like big cards, right? And big cards are not going to connect with this board. Is this live? Of course it's live. What's the delay? Well, 1 or 2 or 5 seconds, whatever it is. Not a lot. Louis Philippe checks. And look, I'm cool with checking with a lot of your range here, but this is a scenario where if it's more like big card boards, you should be checking a lot. That's actually the focus of this month's Poker Coaching Homework Challenge. But in this scenario, I think you can just get away with betting, especially with hands that kind of lack showdown value, and also with hands that have backdoor equity. So this is going to be a triple barrel hand a lot of the time. If you get a heart on the turn, a 7 on the turn, a 4 on the turn, a 9 on the turn, ace, maybe you check, but betting's fine still too. So anyway, I'd go for it. You'd rather check raise the 7s on the Jack 6-4. I would literally never check raise 7s on Jack 6-4, Tom. Because when you check raise, you're just going to get called by a lot of hands that beat you, which is awful, right? You have like almost no equity when you check raise. Whereas when you bet, at least either your pair is good or your draw is good some portion of the time. You're going to find check raising marginal made hands is almost never the right play. All right. Anyway, you check flop, check call, check raise. I think both plays are fine. All right, turns a 4, you check, opponent bets, third or half pot. It's a tough spot because you picked up equity. But, trying to think what you want to do here. Opponent has 26 big blinds left. I think calling is fine, raising's fine, folding. Really, all of your options are available. I'm not in this spot all that often because I'm usually pushing the action with the marginal draws like this. I think it's probably fine to call, given a lot of overcards are still available. You lead river. I would never lead river here. So Louis Philippe, how many 5s are in your range? think about this. Essentially none, right? So given there are essentially no 5s in your range, I just think this is not reputable at all. It's a little bit different if instead the board's like Queen Jack 9 as the focus of the poker coaching homework challenges. You would check call a Jack. So say it comes Queen Jack 9 3 Jack. This play actually starts to gain some merit. Like say it comes Queen Jack 9 and you have Ace 10 or Ace 8 or Ace King or whatever. Then you would very likely check call flop, check call turn with a whole lot of jacks, right? And as A.G. Kessler says here, in this scenario, yes, there are some 5s, but exactly, Ace 5 suited, 2 combinations. Pocket 5s, 1 combination. 6-5 suited, 2 combinations. 5 total combinations. Think about on Queen Jack 9 or Queen Jack 8 or whatever. How many Ace Jacks do you have? You have 12. So now you have 8 after a Jack comes on the river. How many King Jacks? 8. How many Jack 10s? 8, right? A whole load of them. So in this scenario, we have a whopping 5 combinations of 5s, whereas on a bigger card board, you would have a lot. 24, 32, 40, depending on the card, right? So I don't like this spot. Let's see. You want to try to make players fold top pair. If your opponents fold top pair, then congrats. You're just going to print money. Good players do not fold top pair. This was played online against competent opponents who don't fold top pair. I'm talking about a previous hand. Don't try to make people fold top pair. It's a big mistake a lot of people make, especially as they progress up the stakes. You know, to be fair, strategies like I'm going to try to make people fold top pair, or I'm going to try to get people to call with queen high, or whatever. Any super exploitative strategy works well against the worst players in the world. But as your opponents play better and better and better, your exploitative plays are going to work way less, right? And that's a big problem. Wow, 58-month subscriber. I don't know who the 58-month subscriber is. Let me know in the chat. Thank you for being a 58-month subscriber on Twitch. I appreciate it. Never seen anyone up that high. Believe it or not, some people like me. And believe it or not, we've been here longer than most. You all may not know this, but I actually got banned on Twitch about 10 years ago. Why did I get banned on Twitch? For streaming poker. Don't know how many people got banned before me, but I got banned on Twitch, and that's because I was streaming poker. I was streaming a gambling game. They didn't allow that back then. About a year later, Jason Somerville came on and got famous, so wrong place, wrong time for me, I suppose. But that's how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes you're ahead of your time. Very important to make sure you are not ahead of your time. Who did I stake? Louis Philippe. What did they win? $1,000. You yourself is the 58th month subscriber. Interesting. I didn't know I was subscribing to myself. I don't know how all that stuff works. To be fair, I haven't been on Twitch in a long time. Anyway, here we go. I would not have bet this river, Louis Philippe. I think that's not a good play. Louis Philippe, you're making loose, splashy, aggressive plays. And to be fair, maybe they work against specific opponents, but this type of thing is going to work way less on live than line. Way less online than live. Again, if you're watching this on Instagram, youtube.com/pokercoaching to see all the hands live. Link says, you're fairly new to following me and you've gained so much. Well, that's the goal. I sound rough. Sign of a good night, indeed. It's going to sound crazy. I'm actually not dressed up for all of you. I'm dressed up because I have to go to James's school today, deliver a special snack, which is today going to be seaweed and Rice Krispie treats, and read him a book. I'm going to read him a book called Click Clack Moo, where basically cows get a hold of a typewriter, negotiate with the farmer to get electric blankets, and then a duck comes to be the negotiator. They make a trade, electric blankets for the typewriter, because the farmer wants milk and he's tired of dealing with the cows. And then the duck, the negotiator, or the the person in the middle, takes the typewriter and then demands what's it even called? He demands like they demand diving board for the pool or for the pool, and they get it. So anyway, it's an interesting book because it's teaching kids First off, to negotiate, which I'm not so sure is ideal, but also it teaches kids to not be a bipartisan or not be a neutral party person standing by. Make use of the things that you have going on. I don't know. It's a weird book. Anyway, my wife says it's fun because they do click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo. That's cows typing. Cows that type. What's going on here? These hands are from an online event. Are you backing only for live events? Yes, we are backing only for live events in the future. Because I want all of you out there actually playing the event live and representing pokercoaching.com. All right, next hand. So far, Louis Philippe, these are splashy. Be careful, be careful, be careful. All right, you raised 2.2 big blinds off 30 big blinds from the small blind. I would have always made it bigger. I would have made it 3.5 big blinds or limp. I would probably just limp, but raising 3.5 big blinds is perfectly fine from the small blind. When you make it 2.2, always ask, what am I presenting to my opponent? And here, your opponent has to put in 1.2 big blinds to win, 5.4? Your opponent should never fold here. Your opponent should call literally any two cards, which is not really ideal, right? You don't really want them to call any two cards in position. Flop comes ace 7-5, just bet, using probably medium to big size. Pot's 5.4 big blinds, you go 2.8, sure. Turns to 3, just keep betting. Pot's 11, you have 27 left. I would bet something like 8 or 9 and then jam the river. You bet 6. So the problem with 6 is that it makes it kind of hard for you to set up a river jam. Because notice pot's 11, right? If you bet 6 and the opponent calls, pot's going to go up to 22, and you have 22 behind. I don't think you really want to set up a pot size jam here. I think you'd rather make the pot a little bit bigger right now. Because if your opponent does have an ace, they're just never going to fold to any bet on the turn. So you might as well bet like 7 or 8 big blinds. Then they're going to be getting they have to call a 2/3 pot size bet on the river, which allows you to jam the river for 2/3 pot. And you're going to get called by top pair more often on for 2/3 pot than you will for pot. So I would just get it bigger. And also, like, no one's going to call with pocket 8s at this point on the turn, or if they do, whatever. But even then, you just get more money in the pot. All right, you get jammed on easy call. Opponent has a draw. Great. Nice hand. Pocket 8s. On the button, 26 big blinds. Under the gun raises. I would flat. You could also jam if we're playing like 6-handed, 7-handed, something like that. Under the gun, when under the gun raises, because under the gun's really just the low jack seat. So in this scenario, I think it's fine to flat or jam. Definitely just don't fold. You call pocket 8s. We're heads up. Flop comes king, jack 10. Under the gun checks. Interesting spot, right? In this scenario, under the gun should have what? Under pairs? You beat under pairs besides 10s and 9s. 10s is not going to fold. You lose to all the big cards. Suited connectors are drawing thin to dead, so I think this is a fine spot to just check and expect to win some portion of time against small pairs and random ace high. So I would not be betting here. It's just so easy for the opponent to have a king, like king 9 that's checking, or a jack, like ace jack that's checking, or queen jack, or ace 10. Just check it down. I wouldn't put a chip in the pot here again. So you bet 3.3 big blinds on the 6th turn, your opponent calls. Like right here, when your opponent check calls, you just have a whole lot of marginal made hands, right? And you just don't want to bet. River is an 8, so you get a set. So now definitely bet. You're trying to get called by marginal made hands, right? You're trying to get called by an ace jack, a jack 9, an ace 10. So pot's 13 big blinds. You have 20 left. I'd bet something like 4. You're going to have a hard time getting paid for much more than that. Maybe like 6. I think 6 is fine. Opponent checks. You bet 11. I think 11 is too big because when you bet 11... what's going to end up happening is your opponent's going to fold out everything besides a king, most likely. Unless they're a bit of a calling station, right? This is where you have to ask, do I have a loose, splashy image? If you have a loose, splashy image, then you can conceivably get called by marginal stuff. So this is definitely a spot where you can go one way or the other, but if your opponent's range is very marginal, you typically want to be betting small. If your opponents don't care what you're doing, then you can get away with a bigger bet. Anyway, your opponent does fold, which is a bit of a bummer, right? And if your opponent does fold, then kind of implies you bet too big, right? So, in general, you always want to ask, what am I trying to get called by when you're value betting? And sometimes the answer is really good hands, in which case you can bet big. But quite often, like in this scenario, when your opponent checks flop, check calls turn, checks river, they just have a whole lot of marginal made hands, right? And marginal made hands are going to fold to any big bet. So I like a smaller bet there. what does the concept you have of winning a certain percentage of the time to make a move profitable? What about it? Do we overbet with 90% river equity? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. We're not, again, so there's this idea that as you have more equity, you should be betting bigger. True, true. Assuming we're trying to be game theory optimal. Are we trying to be game theory optimal? No! Get it out of your head that you're supposed to play like the robot, because that leaves money on the table against the vast majority of people. What if I told you under the gun in this scenario has literally all jacks, and under the gun is going to fold all jacks to a big bet? Then don't bet big. Like the easy, duh. Don't bet big if your opponent's always going to fold and you're trying to get value. Okay. Daniel's asking me something without writing full sentences. Daniel, I don't know what you're asking me. And also, this is not asking me anything. Anyway, that'll be in the future. All right, is this the same hand? No, different hand. All right, under the gun limps, we have pocket eights again. 35 big blinds in the cutoff. Under the gun min raises. You call, that's fine. I think jamming for 35 big blinds would be a bit big. Small blind and big blind both call. Flop comes queen, queen, jack. Just check, fold again. I wouldn't put a chip in the pot. All right, check, check, check. Turns an 8. So you drill the set again. And now big blind bets 3.5 into the 9 big blind pot. You should probably just go ahead and raise. You want to get your stack in. If you call, pot's going to go up to 16, and you're going to have a hard time getting it in on the river. If your opponent checks, you just can't get it in. This is one of these scenarios, though. If your opponent has a queen, you don't want to do anything to screw that up, where, like, say they do have a queen and the river's a 10 of clubs. Now you just don't get paid, right? So in this scenario, I would definitely go ahead and raise to about 9 big blinds or 10 big blinds. So you flat, though. I don't like the flat. River's a jack. So queen, queen, jack, jack, 8. We have pocket 8s. Pretty rough river. I would just check here. It's going to be hard to get called by worse. I mean, you could bet small if you think ace high is going to call, if you think a straight's going to call, but I mean, this is actually the same story, right? Actually, it's different because now we have way less equity. But in this situation, there's no purpose in checking. I'm sorry, there's no purpose in betting. So check, check, opponent doesn't have the straight, and this is a beautiful example of what I was just saying, right? Where if you just raise the turn, you would have gotten all the money in. Instead, you don't get the money in. And that's what I was trying to tell you. Again, I've not watched these hands. I'm sure it looks like I can see the future at this point. But this hand really exemplifies that concept that if your opponent probably has a lot of decent hands, then you want to go ahead and get it in immediately before the river gets bad. All right. And some people are saying, oh my God, jack comes, we're screwed here. It's queen, queen, jack, jack, 8. We beat straights, we beat ace highs, so we're not actually screwed. We win here a lot. And if we win here a lot, then we could conceivably value bet. And going back to what we were talking about before, if you have relatively low equity against your opponent's range, like 60%, you're supposed to be betting, well, you can bet small. If you're going to bet, you usually want to bet small from a GTO point of view, and often that is accurate, right? Because what are you trying to get called by? We're trying to call by a straight or ace high, which is not good at all. So if your opponent will call with a straight or ace high, then betting 3 big blinds is fine if they're never going to raise you, but that just opens the door for a lot of bad things to happen. So I would have checked the river, but notice I would have just raised the turn and gotten all the money and got a double up, right? All right, last hand for today. We have a min raise from cutoff, button, calls, where we have king 2 of hearts in the big blind. We flat. Flop comes 6, 6, 4. We check. Cutoff checks. Button bets 2.5 big blinds on 6. Did I say 6, 6, 4? Goodness gracious. I'm sorry, everyone. Like I said, I'm a bit hungover. We were busy winning that trophy behind me last night. Hungover and tired. And now I have to go read Click Clack Moo to a bunch of 3-year-olds. It's going to be fun. All right. I think I would probably... Would I go for it here? I think going for it's fine. How do you determine what your equity percentage is? You run your range against your opponent's range.
there's this idea that as you have more equity as your value hands have more equity against your opponent's overall range on the river, you want to be betting bigger. So like in the spot earlier where we had, what do we have? Basically, we had some sort of effective nut hand there. Oh, we rivered a set. In that scenario, we win almost all the time against our opponent's range. Like we have 90% equity or something. So in that scenario, from a GTO point of view, we want to be betting big. When you have low equity, like on the previous hand where we got counterfeited on the river, but we still have the best hand a lot, if you are going to bet, you want to bet small. So how do you determine your equity? You run it through Equilab. Can we 3-bet king 2 suited pre-flop? Not really. I'd much rather 3-bet just a strong linear range here, given the stack sizes. If you are going to be 3-bet bluffing, you have to ask, am I going to be getting called a lot? And if you're going to be getting called a lot, well, again, just go straight linear. Just with the best hands, right? If you think you're going to get a lot of folds, I would typically prefer to be 3-betting with blockers. Now, the king is a blocker, but I think I'd rather just go... I mean, king 2 suit is fine, I guess. I guess that's what it amounts to. Like, I think king 2 suit is fine to call, though. I'd rather go stuff like king 2 offsuit, because that flops worse. Basically, if your hand's not quite good enough to call, then that's when you should consider 3-betting. And I think king 2 suit is probably just fine to call. Obviously, you can 3-bet at some portion of the time. It's not like insane or anything. But I would probably just not do it. I would just flat. So it is worth mentioning. I do a whole lot of flat calling in tournaments. And you may say, why? Some people 3-bet a ton. Because people play poorly post-flop. If you 3-bet them pre-flop, they can just rip it in. And a lot of people will, especially online. And you don't want them to rip it in. You want them to play post-flop in scenarios where they're going to be screwing up a lot. So how do you let people screw up a lot? Well, you see the flop and go from there. And it may sound slightly egotistical, but I think I play better post-flop than most people. So I'm happy to get in there and do it. So why do we choose king 2 suited as a bluff? Backdoor flush draw on a single overcard? Well, first off, we have backdoor flush draw, which is very, very, very relevant. We have the overcard, which is very, very, very relevant. Because if we check raise and get called, we're going to be against a lot of marginal overpairs or sixes. And the king is probably very live, right? So king is very live. Backdoor flush draw is very live. And we have a lot of 4s in our range, right? So in this scenario, remember we were talking earlier about how Louis Philippe had no 5s in his range? On the board of like 8, something, 5, whatever. Philippe had almost no 5s. Here we actually have a lot of 4s. So in this scenario, we have a big nut advantage, as Monica says. We have a big nut advantage, and we have the... That's essentially, we have a lot of nut hands here, whereas our opponents do not. Button should really not be flatting with all that many 4s, right? I mean, Button could have a few 4s, as A.G. Kessler said earlier. They could have like ace-4 suited. They could have 5-4 suited. Sure. Whatever. It's not many combinations. Whereas Big Blind has a lot of 4s. So here we have a lot of nut hands. And we want to raise all of our nut hands on this board, or most of our nut hands. So that means we get to raise with a lot of bluffs. And yeah, we have 7 5s. We have probably 5-3 suited, but that's what? 18 combinations of hands? They need to look for some more, right? That's going to be 8-5. It's going to be 8-7. And then backdoor draws. Maybe front door draws, like flush draws, right? With stuff like ace 10 of hearts, we don't need to raise. We can call, so we're not raising the ace high of hearts. Same thing with ace x of diamonds. I don't think we necessarily need to raise that. So this seems like an okay one to go for it. And it's nice because we can raise small and then fold to a jam. So I like a raise here. We do raise, and we get jammed. So now we just fold, right? And notice here, if we had a 4, we have an easy call. And if we don't have a 4, we have an easy fold. Notice if we did have a hand like ace x of diamonds, we're actually not happy now, right? Because we're calling off roughly break even, which is why you don't necessarily want to be raising in that scenario. And actually illustrates the point pretty well, why you want to be raising draws with relatively low equity, because now we just get to fold, right? Louis Philippe does fold. We move on with our lives. So then Louis Philippe went on, played day 2 at, what's that place called? Playground Poker Club in Montreal. Got a nice cash. Ship poker coaching back the money. Successful backing. What about 10-9 of hearts? I would be inclined to raise 10-9 of hearts. Then you probably just call it off. Also, Louis Philippe, I would say you could perhaps even go smaller on the check raise on the flop. Because when your opponent bets 2.5 into 7.5, you have to think about what sizings are available here. And if you raise to 7.5 and you get jammed on, you end up in a lot of roughly break-even scenarios, which you don't really want. So I think I would probably make it even smaller, because that's going to give you more turn playability. All right, so those are all of Louis Philippe's hands. Again, if you were watching this on YouTube or listening to this, definitely go back to youtube.com/pokercoaching to watch the full review of all the hands. You really enjoyed playing this tournament. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Louis Philippe, and I'm happy to back the poker coaching members because I know that I'm helping all of you get good at poker, so I'm happy to help you get into action. Jeff Madison Poker on Instagram. Good morning. Instagram's nice because it tells me who joins. I don't know who joins YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, etc., but that's okay. So yeah. Like I said, if you want to get backing, go to pages.pokercoaching.com/backing. If you're a poker coaching member, you are very, very live to get chosen. If you're not a poker coaching member, maybe not so much, because I don't know anything about you, right? I see how much work the poker coaching members are doing. I don't see how much non-poker coaching members are doing, and you can say I'm a great poker player, but that doesn't mean you're a great poker player. So, we're backing all of you. That is just a perk of being a member. Also, we're launching a new class today by Lexi Gavin. That'll be available on Poker Coaching soon. It's on continuation betting strategies. Definitely check that out. And if you never signed up for Poker Coaching, you can get a free trial membership. Completely free. You have no reason not to. Again, I apologize for being a little bit out of it today. We were busy all night winning this trophy. Oh, let's go back to my face. Let's see. There we go. I was busy last night winning this trophy. Look at this cute little hand. Have you ever seen such a weird, cute little hand on a trophy? How do we do this? There we go. What are they even holding? They have... You would never guess what card... Imagine 4 random cards they're going to put in the hand. Let's just think of this. First off, in the No Limit Hold'em tournament, there should be 2 cards or 5 cards. What cards would you think to put in the champion's hands? Someone guess. Someone guess. Charlie says, I'm hungover and I have ADD. This is your first coffee and you're a big fan. Thank you for the content. You're very welcome. You're very impressed by the clear thought process and presentation with such a hangover. Well, you're going to find that when you know something reasonably well or very well, you can do it not at full capacity, decently well. And you saw me stumbling a little bit here and there, and that's okay, right? I mean, it is what it is. We're doing a live show here. There's always the trolls on YouTube saying, oh my gosh, this is such bad presentation. Well, sorry, we're live. And we did 1 minute of preparation time. Because such is life. You're going to find that whenever people are busy, it's going to sound bad. You got to take what you can get, though. I was talking to one of my mentors the other day who is a very well-known angel investor, and he basically said that anytime anyone comes to him for help, they have to recognize that essentially they are getting 1/8 of his attention and 1/8 of his focus because he has a million things going on, right? Whereas when he goes to people, they give him 150% of their focus, right? Like they are on. And it's true. This guy asked me for anything, I'm on. And that's how it goes. And the nice thing about life is that there's almost always someone who you need help from, someone who you look up to, someone who you admire, someone who you aspire to be, right? And I recognize for some of you, that's me. For me, some of these guys, right? And recognize we all are humans, and we all just want to do our best in life. Anyway, the cards on this hand, I don't know if you all are going to be able to see this. There you go for Instagram. Can you see them? Here you go for non-Instagram. Can you see them? I don't know if you can see that. The cards are 5 of diamonds, 5 of clubs, 5 of hearts, and Jack of spades. Who in the world... What if they'll talk about someone who was hungover, just super, super stoned? 5, 5, 5, Jack are the cards they put on this trophy. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I might just get one of those for my card. I might rip that off and use it as my card protector whenever I'm playing poker for fun. That's fantastic. 5, 5, 5, Jack. Are they all different suits? Spade, hearts, clubs, diamonds. They all are different suits. So we have the Badoogie. We have the 5, 5, 5. Is it called a Badoogie if you have trips in your hand? I don't think so. It is a Badoogie. It's 5, 5, 5 Badoogie. Fine. Not a very good one. Clearly, I don't play much Badoogie. I do not think that's going to be the game of the future. For the 17th time, I've been asked, where am I playing live this weekend? Nowhere. I have a wife and 2 kids. Is there a song? I have a wife and 2 kids. I work in a button factory. One day, you like twist the buttons and you do it with your feet and your hands. And oh my gosh, the stuff you know once you become a parent. No, I'm not playing anywhere this weekend because I have to hang out with my family. I want to hang out with my family. I do this during the day to help all of you so that I get to spend time with my wife and my kids in my button factory on the weekends. By design, right? It's very important for you to develop a plan for your life such that you get what you want. Whatever that means. I realize some of you want to be a professional poker player. Design your life to make that happen. Some of you want to be able to stay home with your family on nights and weekends. Design your life to make that happen, right? That's what I did. I knew I wanted to, 3 or 4 years ago, I knew I wanted to have a family. I guess it's 4 or 5 or 6 years ago now. I knew I wanted to have a family. I knew I wanted to be able to stay home with them, which meant not traveling and playing poker all the time. I also knew my wife wanted to stay in New York City. So I could have gone abroad and just been an online pro, right? Certainly an option. But my wife didn't want to move. So now I have to stay home. I have to be able to make income from home. And I have to not leave New York City. So we have to figure out a way to make a lot of money from home. How can we do that? Well, we can use the skills that I have to help other people. You're going to find that if you take the skills that you have and you scale your skills to help others, you will be rewarded. And the nice thing about the internet, if you're here today watching this, you have the potential to make a nice income by using whatever skills you have to help others. Whatever it is. Say you're good at designing chocolate poker chips. They gave us these at the charity tournament last night. Imagine you're good at designing these. Maybe, well, you could probably do better than whoever did these. Well, that's exactly it. Or you could do better than whoever did these because these look a little bit cheap. You can essentially take your skills and help others. Teach others design. Make a program that helps with design. There's a program called Canva. Oops. Alarm's going off. Means I have to get going. There's a program called Canva that someone in Australia made. It's completely free to use. Kind of like poker coaching. Pokercoaching.com, right? Completely free to get a trial. Completely free to use it to a limited extent. But if you want to upgrade, you have to pay. If you're a big business, if you're a real poker player making significant money, you are happy to spend money to get better, right? If you're a real designer trying to design stuff, you'll pay money to do better design. And they're a gigantic company, right? That's someone who wanted to figure out a way to scale. And they realized that they could do better than what else was out there. And to be fair, maybe someone down the road is going to come off and knock Jonathan Little off the poker coaching job. Hopefully not. My goal is to always stay at the top. But, you know, you have the potential to help others doing whatever you are doing. And I just showed you how someone who is good at designing chocolate poker chips can make a multi-million-dollar company. I don't even know what it's valued at. Let's look it up. Is it called Canva? Canva valuation. Is that a thing? Canva's valuation, a program that helps people do design that's free to use, is worth $3.2 billion. Okay? Someone who designs chocolate poker chips could have had that idea, could have done it, just by being good at designing candy and wanting to help others design candy. Helping others will give you the opportunities to do whatever you want. If you only help yourself, not so much. It's very important to scale. All right, that's me for today. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you enjoy yourselves. And be nice to someone. Be nice to someone. Help someone. Better the world. Have a great, great weekend. Good luck in your games. And I will talk to you all again on Monday, bright and early, 9 a.m. Eastern Time for another episode of A Little Coffee. Bye-bye.